AEW has had an absolute shitstorm recently. And the weirdest part about that is that a lot of it is super preventable. So before we get into the recaps of the show, let's go back to when things really kicked off. And you might remember that recently Thunder Rosa was accused of sandbagging. And if you don't know what sandbagging is, it's essentially not selling your opponent's offense and intentionally not helping them deliver moves to you. Or in Thunder Rosa's case, it seems like she was intentionally making Marina Shafir suplex dead weight with no assistance. So going beyond an accusation, you could definitely tell that something was off in her match with Marina Shafir. And on social media, AEW's women's talents were bringing light to this and highlighting that this might be true. So Marina Shafir and Thunder Rosa break bread. They post a picture online and they show that all is good between them. But then you fast forward to Thunderstorm, which is Thunder Rosa and Toni Storm, versus Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter. And Britt hands Rosa a sandbagging t-shirt, essentially bringing this feud and this story to TV. And AEW in general aren't shy about doing this because they know their audience. So Thunder Rosa then has several matches where she doesn't seem to be selling as well as she should. And if you don't know what selling means, selling is essentially making your opponent look good. So if I deliver a suplex to you, I want you to be screaming in pain or hitting the mat or showing agony on your face. It means that you're selling the move. So she's had several matches where she's not selling as well as she should, and she is definitely not helping with some moves. This was clear in the match with Marina Shafir as well. And I think that Thunder Rosa herself would agree with that. So now Thunder Rosa's hurt, and she's been hurt for some time, and she is not well. And before she won the AEW's women's title, she was also badly hurt with her back, but they pulled the trigger anyway because it felt like the right time. And this, accompanied with her history of working stiff and hitting hard, and a quote from other wrestlers is that she's trying to fucking kill you. She works stiff, she hits hard, she's not as elegant as somebody as like Dolph Ziggler would be. She wouldn't be a Dolph Ziggler in terms of her selling and in terms of making somebody else look good and not hitting hard. So she allegedly has a history of berating talent also, but I think that story is blown out of proportion entirely. So here's my thing. Here's my thing on this. I don't think that she's intentionally sandbagging. And I think she literally can't wrestle to any competent level due to her back injury. Because she's allegedly sandbagging, think about it this way. They're all moves that require strain on your back. So I think that she actually isn't necessarily sandbagging. I think her back injury is so bad to the point where it's unintentionally making her sandbag, because all the moves she's getting caught doing when this happens are suplexes and moves that put weight on your back. So I don't think she's necessarily intentionally ruining a match or making somebody look bad. Now, I'm the only one that's theorizing this. It might not have as much weight as I think it has, and I don't know if it's true because I've read the stories as well. But moving on, we're going to spoil a little bit of the Dynamite recap. They announced in Dynamite that Thunder Rosa is injured and is stepping away from the title picture, and they aren't relinquishing her title. She initially said they're relinquishing the title, but then went back to say that it's going to be an interim title. So the reason why they're doing this is because they've set the precedent with CM Punk, so they can't take the title from her. They can't make her relinquish it because they just allowed CM Punk to keep his title for a long time while being injured and not on TV. So at All Out, it is a 4-way to determine who is the interim women's champion. This could be This could be punishment for her bad behavior, or it could be a legitimate injury, or both. But this is where everything kicked off with the backstage drama. Now, Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter genuinely don't like her because she works too stiff. And the original plan for All Out was for her to lose the title, according to Dave Meltzer. So we'll see where that goes. We will obviously have some update on that next Sunday because somebody is going to win the interim title. But yeah, like when it comes to Thunder Rosa, there's a lot of drama surrounding her right now. So moving on, we have Sammy Guevara and Eddie Kingston had a confrontation backstage, which happened when Eddie Kingston approached Sammy Guevara over something Sammy said, which felt like a shoot. And Sammy Guevara essentially laughed in the face of Eddie Kingston. It was something along the lines of, you can't say that I'm fat in a promo. Stop talking about me being fat in a promo. Or something like that. But Sammy Guevara essentially laughed in his face and it caused a physical altercation. And Eddie Kingston got suspended. And now Eddie Kingston doesn't seem to be on the all-out card against Sammy Guevara like was planned. After that, we had CM Punk returning and cutting a promo on Adam Hangman Page, which was entirely off the script, and then buries one of the faces of the company and calls him a coward, and people backstage were furious. Then we have Kenny Omega returning, winning and cutting a promo after the show, calling the talents in the back tribute acts, which I'm sure rubbed people the wrong way. And now, this week, all of this is alleged, of course, but this is what everything has been building up to. This is where things were coming to a head. So there was a backstage meeting this week with AEW talent, and it was apparently a long meeting where several executive vice presidents and higher ups gave speeches to the AEW talent and the roster. And Tony Khan and the others who spoke did not speak about CM Punk and Adam Hangman Page's beef, and didn't discuss or bring light to Punk going into business for himself. They decided just to sweep this under the rug. But many of the people who spoke at the meeting, including Tony Schiavone, the Young Bucks, and Chris Jericho, gave rallying speeches to the talent and framed things in a positive perspective. Kenny Omega, however, was harsher than most and gave a tough love approach to his speech, according to PW Insider, basically saying that they're all there for each other, but everybody needs to cop on a bit. And the vast majority of the talent felt relieved or feeling better about the future, but many did not, is what Brian Alvarez said on Wrestling Observer Live. So this is a very interesting story when it comes to the meeting, because apparently they have these meetings every year and they haven't had one in the last year. So this was a very important meeting for them to have, and they finally had it at a time where it was badly needed, and people still walked out feeling unhappy, and people still walked out feeling like nothing was going to change. And for a company of the age of AEW is only around since 2019. For a young company like this to be encountering problems of this magnitude so early on really is the litmus test to see if they're going to survive in the future. And hopefully, as I'm a fan of this company, hopefully this is going to be successful in terms of getting people to calm down a bit. This is obviously Tony Khan's attempt at getting people to calm down and to be happy once again. But you can't help but feel an ironic revolution is coming and a max exodus of talent in the coming months, as people are unhappy with their booking and their positions on the card. And I know that some talents are obviously going to be ecstatic, but for the most part, it seems like a lot of their roster is unhappy. So All Out is coming this Sunday, which is their WrestleMania, and the company needs to make the correct calls, and they need to hit the reset button, and they need to shake things up. And personally, from my perspective, I understand the frustrations of the talent. If not due to the lack of use, but specifically if they're not used on Dynamite, they're relegated to Rampage, and they're going to soon be relegated to Ring of Honor, which Rampage specifically has gotten worse in significantly worse in recent months, to the point where I miss Rampage when I never used to miss it. I don't care about it. I watched the episode just gone for this recap, but if it wasn't for this recap, I probably wouldn't have watched it, because they try to cram so much in 1 hour that it doesn't feel as real as it should, if that makes sense. It feels like it's pre-recorded when a show shouldn't feel pre-recorded. SmackDown was on Friday nights for 15 years before going live, even longer before going live, when it was taped on a Tuesday and Thursday. So you don't need to make it feel taped if you don't want to, but they obviously just don't care. They obviously just don't care.